Committee to Unleash Prosperity and host of More Money on WABC Radio, and Michael Faulkender, former Assistant Treasury Secretary and now the bigwig economist at AFPI, plotting a new administration. I hope for both of you, actually, and I will enjoy reporting on it. Steve Moore, Newt's got a piece up on Fox Digital, and I mentioned it in my opening riff, and it goes to this. There are so many reasons why the Ukraine spending bill is a bad bill. But one reason, Steve, is there are no offsets. Republicans, what, 20-something Republicans voted for it. I never heard a peep about offset. You're going to spend $100 billion there, then take $100 billion out of here. In fact, make that a way of life. You know, happy Valentine's Day, America. We'd like to keep you out of bankruptcy, but no one seems to care. This business about offsets, you and I have looked at it for years. What is wrong with the GOP? And I hope that Mike Johnson fixes it.
Yeah, not one penny right. of offsets on a $100 billion spending bill. And whatever happened to, pay as you go, those kind of rules that said if you're going to spend more money on one thing, you spend less on another. I calculated, Larry, that if this is such an urgent national priority for America, as Biden said yesterday in his televised speech, then surely we could cut 2 cents out of every dollar of other programs to pay for it. They are not doing it. But I want to make another point that hasn't been highlighted. My friends at the Heritage Foundation have pointed out that if they approve this money, and let's say that you get a peace deal in Ukraine with the Russians, did you know that the federal government would still have to spend that money? And this is where I like your idea and Donald Trump's idea of giving the president empowerment power.
Yes.
So the president does not have to spend money if it's not necessary.
Now, let's just stop for a minute. Thank you for that. I want to add Russell Vogt, who is a very strong advocate of this. I have been in love with budget empowerment for years. What this means, Faulkender, if you know something about this, for heaven's sakes, weigh in. But what this means, basically, is the president has executive authority. It's like regulatory authority on the fiscal and budget side. If he sees monies that he feels are being spent unwisely and or inefficiency or incorrectly, he can impound it. That is to say, take it away. The last guy to have it was Nixon, Mike Faulkender, but Nixon got blown up by Watergate and a left-wing Congress in 1974 and 1975. Why not bring back budget impoundment, just to repeat, because my saintly wife asked me last night, she said, could you put a sentence in what it really means? It's very important. It just means presidents have executive authority to control the budget. How's that? They can make executive decisions if they see problems and inefficiencies or corruption. Faulkender, what do you think about that? I mean, it won't solve every problem, but it wouldn't be bad.
No, not at all. Because, Larry, it's worse than what you described, because what it says is that if the Congress says we need to fulfill some obligation, let's say on education or what you just discussed on foreign affairs, if the president can do it less expensively, what must happen right now is that they have to spend every dollar that Congress appropriated. So even if $5 billion is allocated, but the president can do it for $3 billion, they've still got to spend the entire $5 billion. And so that's the problem, is that it generates no incentive at all for the bureaucracy, for the executive branch to find any kind of efficiency. And instead, it actually encourages the very profligate spending that's putting us into this fiscal situation.
See, this is, Steve Moore, I'll come back to you on this. This is stuff, you give this authority to a tough president. Not a weakling like Biden, but a tough president like Trump, tough, okay? He knows how to do this stuff. He ran a budget. He was a successful, fabulously successful businessman. Okay, so he will rip into the swamp like you've never seen ripped into the swamp. He will rip into the civil service, because you know what else Russ Vogt is cooking up, and a lot of, we've been talking about this amongst ourselves. I want to end the civil service tenure. okay? There's no reason why those guys should have lifetime tenure. They're worse than the Harvard faculty and just as far left as the Harvard faculty. That's another one. I want to rip in. I want to drain the swamp. I want to rip into the swamp. And stuff like civil service, ending civil service tenure and budget impoundment authority and lots of other things that can be done will go after the swamp. Lock, stock, and barrel, Steve Moore. That's a whole lot better than jacking up taxes, which is what Biden's and the Democrats want to do.
Well, you know, every president from George Washington to James Madison to Abraham Lincoln to Franklin Roosevelt used this empowerment power that you and Michael were just talking about. And by the way, another president who wanted to use this power was a president you and I worked for, Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
And he was so frustrated
Yes.
that he had to spend tens of billions of dollars that he didn't think was necessary for obsolete programs. So this is by the way, what CEO of a company would be required to spend money on things that they don't need to spend money more?
Right.
You can't even make this up. It is so outrageous. And by the way, one other quick thing. We don't have to spend a ton of more money in Ukraine if we would drill, baby, drill, another theme of yours, and bankrupt the Russians. That's one of the reasons that, in my opinion, that Russia went into Ukraine in the first place.
Oh, I think you're 100% right. 100% right. Mike Faulkender, you look at the CBO numbers. Our Ed Lawrence had some clips of Philip Swagel. Even the CBO director says it's unsustainable. We had Douglas Holtz-Eakin on, a former CBO director, dear friend, smart guy, right? He said it's unsustainable. Nobody in town except the far left loves this stuff. The point is, though, Mike Faulkender, when you become a big shot in the Trump administration, what are you going to do? What's your plan? Give us, in 30 seconds, your plan to solve 120% of GDP budget deficits, 2.5 to $3 trillion deficits as far as the eye can see. Spending is 24% of GDP, vastly above the 50-year average. 30 seconds, Faulkender. What are you going to do about it?
All right, item number one is what Steve just said. Drill, baby, drill. Unleash American energy abundance to drive down the cost of everything that we produce. Number two, send power back to the people through deregulation. Let businesses and individuals operate their own lives. Number three, massively slash the spending. There's no reason for the bureaucracy to be spending the amount of money that it does. Four, extend pro-growth tax reform. Number five, let's make sure we've got sound money and sound financial institutions. And number six, let's make sure that our trade deals around the world are reciprocal. It should no longer be the case that American manufacturers suffer a disadvantage.
What do you think, Steve? Pretty good. I think he's got it.
I think he's got the whole agenda. By the way, don't forget, it's not just Valentine's Day, it's Ash Wednesday. I hope you got your ashes today, my friend.
I'm going to go. I'm going to get communion after the show. I promise. All right. You guys are great. Nice going, by the way. Michael Faulkender, I'll tell you, you're just a star. Steve Moore, you've always been a star. Thanks very much, kids.